Hi there, I'm Dr. Kiana Shiroma, the Director of the Pre-Health Pre-Law Advising Center at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. So thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be covering our pre-health orientation workshop. And so this was already shared in person, but we thought that we'd also cover it in a recording as well in case people miss it, or maybe they change their minds later on that they want to go into a health professional field. And so this would be the orientation for you to watch. And so we're going to be covering a few specific fields today because there's just so many different kinds of professions out there. We really wanted to make sure that what we covered today was related to not just advising topics that we cover for our office, but then also for you specifically. So for this particular recording, we will be covering the following fields, as you can see here. So dentistry, optometry, OT, PT, pharmacy, and PA. So generally speaking, there's around 8 steps to get into professional school. So we'll be going through each one, as you can see here. So first and foremost would be coursework. And so just to highlight, unfortunately, every school kind of varies in terms of what they require for students to take in college in order to be able to apply to their health professional school. And so it's really, really important to make sure that you check on that if you're already looking at specific schools that you want to apply to in the future. Also, your coursework will vary, right, depending on whatever your major is and what kind of degree you're getting. But there are a lot of different resources available to help you navigate all of these different requirements. So some of which include major requirements, general ed, graduation and credit requirements, as well as electives. And so there are also ways in which you can double dip classes or requirements, right? And so that's where we would be able to help you make an academic plan along with your other college and major advising offices. And then that way too, we can make sure that we overlap as much as we can with those requirements that we mentioned earlier, and then also still be able to graduate within a reasonable amount of time. So the next part would be experience. And so this is the part in which I do strongly recommend that you look into different health careers that might be out there. And if you do have one in particular, then you can learn more about it, right? And make sure that it's the right field for you. Also, from these experiences, later on down the line, I would want you to also possibly be able to get strong letters of recommendation from them. From your supervisors of these experiences, which is why it's really important to get that. Another reason why you need to gain experience is that health professional schools want you to develop personally. So what that means is that they want you to establish and hone qualities that will help you become a better future healthcare professional down the road. So some qualities that a lot of different health professions look for in applicants would be empathy, compassion, commitment to public service, having high ethical and moral standards, and being mature. And so I do strongly recommend that you look for these kinds of opportunities to help you make sure that you get these kinds of qualities. And so going a little bit deeper into these different kinds of experiences, there's a variety of different ones for you to choose from. So there's volunteering and community service, research, leadership, direct patient care, internships, and shadowing. And so with that being said, though, different fields do value some kinds of experiences more than others. So for example, for PT school, a lot of PT schools require or strongly recommend PT observation hours, right? So on the other hand, for physician assistant, they are a little bit broader in the sense that they would want like more general kind of direct patient care. It doesn't have to be PT specific, right? So every field is a little bit different. So we'll work with you on determining, how to prioritize your experiences, because we all know we only have so much time in a day to do all of these different activities. So one way to look for these different opportunities that may be interesting to you is to go to our website. And so if you click on this image here, it'll go to the link for this particular webpage, and we will have a whole list of things for you to look into, different kinds of organizations to participate in. Another way to find these opportunities is to follow us on our social media. And then with these are more kind of like current, like newer opportunities, as opposed to our website are more like standing organizations for which you can always volunteer for. When you are making your decision as to which exact activity to participate in, there are some things that I do want you to consider. So like I said before, first and foremost would be making sure that you are prioritizing what your professional field prioritizes, right? So that would be our main focus. But then also making sure that you have strong quality experiences. And so, for example, in research, it would be amazing, like the epitome of research would be to possibly publish. And so that would definitely take precedence over maybe having like hundreds of hours, cleaning lab equipment, right? Or not really having a real kind of quality research experience. So kind of keep that in mind too, right? It's like, how strong, how much in depth will you be able to participate in that particular organization? And then there's other kinds of logistical considerations, right? So time commitment, where that activity is, what traffic will be like. But first and foremost, I do strongly recommend that you still prioritize your classes, right? Because the classes, once you get the grades, that's it, they're set. As opposed to experiences, you can always get them later on, even after you graduate. Another area that I do want you to think about is like, what are you most interested in and passionate? Because this is going to come through in your application, in your personal statement, and then later on in your interview with your schools. So you want to make sure that it makes sense for you, right, in your overall application as to why you're participating in this particular activity. And then last but not least would be to keep track. And so there's different ways that you can do it. One example would be our experience log template. And so this one is a one for medicine, but we have different ones for different fields that you can go on our website and get a copy of this template. And so what to do right now would be to start, right? So that you can start logging all of these things down. And then when you do, then make sure you do so, because all of that information that was in the template is going to be required in your application when that time comes for you to submit to schools. The next part of, or another step would be the entrance exam. And so this is something else that does vary by school and also by field. So some schools don't require an entrance exam, whereas others do. So you can check on that. And then if you are looking into a program or field that does require an entrance exam, then I do strongly recommend that you make sure that you have a study plan. And then if it is content-based, then make sure that you take the classes that the content is on, and then make sure that you keep good notes and your textbooks afterwards. Because that way, once you're done with the classes, but when it comes time to study, then you can refer back to those materials to study. Another step would be researching schools. And so generally, I would recommend starting from big to small, right? Consider all the schools and then make a long list of them. And then as you get a more finalized GPA and entrance exam score, then you can go a little bit shorter down the list, right? And then make sure that you're still competitive for the ones that you're applying to. All right. And then the following step after that would be the applications and the interviews. And so that's where I can definitely help you, with all of that information. Later on, like for example, next semester, I have workshops on the med school application as well as the apps for the same fields that are covered here today. And then when you get an interview invitation, then I'll do a mock interview with you as well. And then the last step of the applying to a health professional school would also be considering financial aid. And so think about that, right? Think about what would be the costs, I would recommend starting to save now. So make sure that you have enough funding to cover future costs and even like test prep, which can get really expensive. And so another way to help address or alleviate future possible issues would be finding ways to help cover your undergrad tuition. There are quite a few resources that you can look to as well for more financial support, as you can see here. So when you click on the links, then they'll take you directly to those websites as well. And then in terms of next steps, I do strongly recommend that you meet with a PAC advisor at least once a semester to make sure that you're on track with all of these different steps that we talked about. And then also to look into important resources that are available for you through UH Manoa. And so one would be through the Pre-Health Career Corps. So they provide even more opportunities that I mentioned earlier, right? Those experiences. And so I do strongly recommend that. They also provide advising. So their advisors were trained by myself and PAC. And they also provide mock interviews too when the time comes for you to have your your actual interviews with your health professional schools. We also have a huge list of pre-health student organizations in which you can get involved. And these are great opportunities to be able to meet other pre-health students, attend additional events, and then also possibly participate in leadership positions. And those are really great ways that you can demonstrate to health professional schools that you'd be a great leader in the future. And then the last resource would be to participate in PAC's pre-health undergrad mentoring program. So this is one in which you would be mentored by current pre-health undergraduates who are like juniors or seniors. So this would just involve like individual semesterly meetings and then socials like later on this academic year. So if you're interested, then you could just sign up at the QR code in the slide. Another QR code that you can click on to or go to would be for our workshop series registration form. So if you're interested in participating in any of these other events, then you can definitely sign up at this link here. But that is it for now in terms of giving you a real brief overview about what it means to be a pre-health student at UH Manoa. Please feel free to contact us should you have any questions or concerns. Like I said earlier, I do strongly recommend that you schedule a check-in with us every semester to make sure that you're on track. So you can do that at our website there. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and we hope to see you soon in the future. Thank you.